Shalom, Israel. We are the Israelite School of Universal Practical Knowledge. You started out on 1 West 125th Street in Harlem, New York, under Commanding General Yohanan. And since 1969, we've been teaching the so-called Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians. We are the true Jews of the Bible. I am Officer LASHAWAN, holding down the class tonight for Priest and Officer 5000 Hazahab. And joining me today is Priest and Officer 5000 Yatazar. Let's clap it up for the Most High. So tonight's class will be the 12 tribes of Israel. So we're going to go into the actual breakdown of what they actually mean, how they're formed in the Hebrew. And we'll start what we started off with, the fundamentals, because I think it's very important that we have this repetition over and over again. As we see this, it's eventually going to click in, and that's how we remember things. So the first part we started is that English is read and written from left to right. And the origin of writing from left to right can be traced back to the ancient Greeks, who, after initially writing from right to left, like the Phoenicians, eventually transitioned to a left to right script. That's according to the Google AI. And English, we're going to use as the basis for everything, because most of us understand English. And English is just training wheels. So it's an easier way to learn something new, because you already know something to start with that we already embedded with most of us. So let's just go very briefly as we write English. And notice what I'm writing is the letters of English: A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, Q, R, S, T, U, V, W, X, Y, and Z. Now notice how I did that. I actually did that as a song, because that's how I was taught as a kid. So when we learned the ABCs, we learned it as an alphabet and as a song, and it started kind of rhyme it had to, so you could like remember the letters. So as you saw, I wrote from left to right. So this is how the English is. All right. And there's a total of 26 letters in the English. All right. And let me bring out this book here. I've shown this to you before. You've seen it probably. It's called the Biblical Hebrew, a text and workbook by Bonnie Cattell, Vicky Hoffer, and Rebecca Wright. And as you can see, this is from Yale University. And as it says in the very beginning, you can see it here in this top paragraph. I'll read it to you to make it easier on the camera. That the Hebrew alphabet is the oldest in the world, and it's still in use today. Our own alphabet is a descendant of it by a circuitous route. The text of the Hebrew Bible we use today reflects several periods of development. So that means it's changed over time. And originally, only consonants were used. So the vowels that we had in English that were created later, you might remember as the A, E, I, O, and U. These things made up extra sounds as words were created. So when I was learning the Hebrew, I created a similar song or a kind of song to help me remember it. Now, there's only 22 letters in the Hebrew alphabet, so it's already easier than the English. It's less letters to remember. And Hebrew is written from right to left. So that's the very first change you're going to see as we write things. We're writing from the right to the left. Okay? And what I did, I essentially like to use my fingers to count on. And it's easier just because you have 5. So I broke down the 22 letters into sets of 5, more or less. So A, Ba, Ga, Da, Ha. That's the first 5. Okay, now we're just going over the sounds first. Okay, the most important thing is don't worry about the symbols yet of the ancient or the modern Hebrew. Just go by the sound first, because once you get the sounds down, you can write down the sounds in English. And then once you have it in English, you can just translate it to, do you want the ancient or do you want the modern? So we're going to be learning 2 other languages today, and we're going to learn both of them again. So the first set was the sounds. Let me get a different marker here. A, Ba, Ga, Da, Ha. So that's how they're pronounced. And how I memorize this, it's just on my fingers, so it's really short. You're going to notice that the first one is the A sound. You're going to essentially hear the A sound in more or less most of these characters. So unlike vowels that were created in English, like you have A's and A's and E's and I's and O's and U's, that these vowels, they have different sounds. Pretty much every letter you're hearing the A sound. So it's really simple. It's a pure language that the Most High gave us. So how I remember the sequence, Abba, Gada, Ha. And essentially that's 5 letters. So we can say letters and syllables. If I spelled that right. Not sure. Well, there's 5 sounds. Abba, Gada, Ha. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it's 5 letters, 5 sounds. The next set is Wazakataya. So that's the Wa, Za, Ka, and this Ka sound is not just a Ka, it's a Ka. So there's something like in your throat kind of. Wazakataya. And this is also 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So you have 5 letters. And it's also Wazakataya, 5 syllables. Okay? And when I remember the sequence, I'm like, all right, let me remember the next 5. And I know the next 5 starts with the Wa. So how I remember this, just the first 5 alone. Abagadaha, Abagadaha, Abagadaha. Then I said, all right, let me memorize the next 5. Wazakataya, Wazakataya, Wazakataya. That repetition is what I remember. Just 5 at a time. No more than that. Let's do the next. We're going to see it's another 5 letters and another 5 syllables. And it's Ka, La, ma, na, sa. So this sequence starts with the ka. That ka is not ka. It's two different sounds. Ka, ka. So I memorized this next part. Kalamana sa, kalamana sa, kalamana sa. Okay. Now the next sequence is 3 letters, and this has 4 syllables. I, pa, ta, za. The ta, za is 1 letter, but it has 2 syllables. Ta, za. So it's actually kind of 2 sounds. So that's why I call that 4. So this will be I, starts with the I, pa, ta, za. And ta, za is 1 letter. Okay? So it's 1, 2, 3, 3 more letters here, and there's 4 syllables. I, pa, ta, za. So this is the only one that actually has 2 syllables of the alphabet. And then the next set is just 4 more letters, and it has 4 more syllables. And that would be qua, ra, sha, tha. As I remember this sequence, 1, 2, 3, 4, 4 letters. Qua, ra, sha, tha, 4 syllables. So I just memorized qua, ra, sha, tha, qua, ra, sha, tha, qua, ra, sha, tha. So you can really do this on your fingers. A, ba, ga, da, ha. Wa, za, cha, ta, ya. Ka, la, ma, na, sa. I, pa, ta, za. Qua, ra, sha, tha. Just get that down, memorize that. I do it by this method that I created because it's just easier for me to count on my fingers. Other brothers like to remember it at 11 at a time. And if you have a real good memory, you can do that as well. So I'll show you that. To me, this is, I would call it the phone number technique, because essentially we have, when we create a phone number, it's like +1 in the United States. That'll be the first digit. Then it's like 1, 2, 3, which is the area code. Then the phone number is 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 0. So this will be 11. Well, this is 11 numbers here. Let me get a different marker. This one's starting to go out. All right, so next we have is sets of 11. So what we're going to do now is break down the alphabet, and we're going to do it in the sets of 11. And I like to bring up the scripture all the time. It's Matthew 15 and 24. But he answered and said, I am not sent but unto the lost sheep of the house of Israel. We are known as sheep to the Most High and Yahweh, because we are desperate without him. We need him. And at the same time, this is a so simple language that in a way it sounds like a sheep. You're saying ah, ba, ga, da, ah. Each one of these things more or less has the ah sound. So it's very simple. It's a very pure language. So I'm going to erase this right now. In the house we have. Thank you for coming, sir. And if you have any questions, just put it in the chat, please, at any time. So right now, this is more or less a review of what we've done. And we're going to help you remember it through this repetition. Now, I'll give this another good cleaning here. I know it's hard on camera sometimes to see these little smudge marks with the markers on it. So let's clean this off. So we're going to write the alphabet now in another format. And we're going to show you the characters of how they're drawn. Because before we get into the 12 tribes breakdown, I want you to know what the characters already look like. And you'll see how easy it is actually to write the 12 tribes once you can see or understand the character formation. Because when I first got into this, it took me a while. Because all these characters I've never seen before. And when you're learning 22 characters or symbols, more or less, that you've never seen before, it takes a moment for you to process them to see what they look like. And that's for the ancient. And then when you do the modern version, you like to throw an additional 5 characters on top of that because they just want to make things more difficult. It's quite unnecessary, but it's not as pure of a language. They like to add an extra 5 characters to the alphabet just if the character ends at the end of a word, that it's a different character. I think it's a little unnecessary, but that's what they did. So I'm going to show you both as we go through this. I'm going to draw it a little bit differently than I did last time, just so I can keep it a little fresh. It's all the same information. The point is that you're seeing it in different ways. And eventually one of these ways is going to help click for you. And you use that method, whichever you like, to help you memorize. So we're going to start off with the sounds. We're going to write 11 of them. We're going to go ah, ba, ga, da, ha. So think of our sequence. So instead of us writing it horizontally, we're just going to write it vertically. So we're going to put 11 this way and 11 this way. Okay? So aba, ga, da, ha. Wa, za, ka, ta, ya. So all this is familiar already to you, but this is now 11. So some brothers like to memorize 11 at a time to remember the 22 characters. Aba, ga, da, ha, wa, za, ka, ta, ya. Ha would be the last one of 11. Ka. Okay. And then we're going to write the other on this side. So that will be la, ma, na, sa. I, pa. Try to make this a line. That, and we break it. I want to have there's enough space so that you can see it clear. So I'm trying to align things just to make it a little bit easier. So 4, sa. Let's do the, let's do it right here. I, pa, ta, za. Okay. And then the last 4 will be qua, ra, sha, tha. Okay. So again, it's another method of learning it by 11 and 11. Memorize the first sequence. Abagadaha wazakataya ka. That's your 11. Next 11. Lamanasa ipataza kwarashata. You can memorize 11 at a time. This works for you. You can memorize it this way. Now, remember, these are actually the sounds, but they're actually part of words. So, the here is short for Allah, which is cow. The ba is short for bayath, which is tent. Ga is short for gamal, which is camel. Da is short for dalaf, which is door. Ha is short for hana, which is behold. Wa is short for wa, and that is a fishhook. Okay. Za is short for zayan, which is weapon. Ka is short for kawama. So it's ka, wa, ma. That's actually a fence. Ta is short for tana'a. That is basket. Ya is short for yad, which is your hand. And ka is short for kop, which is your palm, or like a spoon. Notice these things are tangible objects, more or less. We're very visual people, so you're going to see once the letters are formed where they come from, even more. But we're just doing the English right now just to get that part down. Next, we have la, and that la is short for lamad, which is learn, which is what we're doing today. The ma is short for mayam, which is water. Water. Na is short for nawan. That's a sprout. Sa is short for samak, which is establish. I is short for ayan. That's your I. Pa, short for pa, and this is your mouth. Taza, short for tazad, and that's your side. Kwa is short for quam, which is rise. Ra is short for ra'ash, which is the head. Sha is short for shan, which is tooth. And da, short for da, which is a mark. So there's the actual meaning behind the letters of what they actually stand for. Now I'm going to show you the ancient alphabet, and you'll see even more so how the letters are formed because of the objects that they were. So the first is, first thing you do, get yourself one of these in class. Okay. You'll see that this is the LASHAWAN QADASH. It's the Holy Tongue. And you're going to see from left to right, from right to left, the characters. So, a, ba, ga, da, ha, wa, za, ka, ta, ya, ka, la, ma, na, sa, I, pa, ta, za, kwa, ra, sha, tha. And then they have the English sounds right underneath it. So just as I underline all the sounds, that's what they stand for. Now I'm going to put the actual letters and see how they're drawn. So the first one, oh my God, all right. So we have the A, which if you look, it kind of looks like a cow. You know, if you turned it on the side, if you did it counterclockwise a little bit, you can see how it looks like two parts of, I guess, the ears or so, and then there's the mouth. And you can also see, if you turn it the other way around, how the letter A was used in the English. So it's That's the origin. Next we have the ba. So it looks like a B in a way, backwards B. And that's a tent. Then we have the ga, which is the camel, because it looks like a camel's head. Okay. Then we have the da, which is the door, which is a triangle. So that's what the da looks like. Then we have the ha, one line down, and then 1, 2, 3. That's the ha symbol. Then we have the wa. It's kind of like a U and a line down. And you can see it's like a hook. It's a fish hook. Then we have the za, which is simply the letter Z, how we see it in the English. This is for the weapon. Then we have the kawama, or the fence. And you can see it's like 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. It looks like a fence. That's the symbol. Then we have the ta, which is, it's almost like an X, then a circle around it. So if you think of a basket, like if you were looking at the top of a basket and you look down, that's what it would look like. Next we have the ya, which is, looks like a Z but slanted. And then there's an extra line that goes across. So that's the ya. And then there's the ka, which kind of looks like a backwards K in a way. First it looks like a backwards C. And then think of like a V being drawn here. Or if you take your imagination and flip that around, you can see how it looks like a backwards K. Next, we have the la, which is just letter L that we're normally used to seeing. Then you have the ma, which is almost like a W, and then like a J connected to it. And that's the ma. Then we have the na, which is kind of like a V, and then the J gets added to it, and that's the na. Then you have the sa, which is one line down, and 1, 2, 3 lines across. So it's like a stake that you're establishing. Then we have the I, which you see your eye is a circle. So it's literally a circle. Then you have the pa, which is the mouth. If you look from a sideways view, that's like the side of your mouth. Then we have the taza, which is drawn as a straight line down, and then like a Z connected to it. So think of that as a person laying on his side. Then you have the qua, which is our letter Q in English. You think of this as the sun, it's the sun rising. So that's the qua. If you think you turn this just to the side a little bit, it kind of looks like a Q. Then you have the ra, which is the head for Rosh. So think of a head, or like the letter 4 in a way, kind of backwards, but you have a head. So that's why it has a head. Then you have the sha, which looks like teeth. If you think kind of buck teeth, or like the letter W in a way, but it doesn't go all the way up. So it's like a shorter version of it. Okay. And then you have the thaw, which is a mark. I like to think X marks the spot. Kind of looks like a sideways cross. And that is the ancient letters. So you see, these symbols are very, very unique. They don't cross so much. They're very, when you see one of them, you easily recognize it as one sound. So that's the ancient. Any questions yet? I don't see any there yet.
Shout out to Bruce, young man Bruce, checking in from Queens. We got Oyes, Shalom, Yah Shema, Tabashim, Yah Sister Rock, and Mouth checking from NYC. And we got Sister Bayana, Shalom, Yah Shema, Tabashim, Yah Shah, Lord Christ, Bayana checking into class. No questions. If you have any questions, just put them in the chat. Also, Sha'afon will do his best to address your question.
Yeah, shalom everyone. Thank you for joining us. So now what I'm going to do, I'm going to show you the modern version. This, when I first saw it, really had my head spinning. It was almost very difficult to learn because it looks so similar to letters that it was hard to differentiate them. So I'm going to take my time and just slowly draw them. So it helped me remember them and show you the nuances of each character. Okay. So first, we have the ah here. So how I draw this, it's almost like a diagonal line. Then a line up, and another line down, like squiggly. So that's the ah sound in the modern. So we have ancient and the modern version. Ancient to the modern version here. All right. So next we have the ba, which is the tent. It's drawn as down, up, and then a line across. So this looks more like a tent too. So you can see how that character is drawn. Then you have the ga, which is drawn like this. So 1, 2, 3. I give it a little lip and another one there. So that's the camel. So it still kind of looks like a camel, but with legs. Then we have the da. Now, this is an important character here because you're going to see a lot of letters look similar to this one. So I'm going to show you the nuances. So make sure you understand this da here. So first, it's just a line going across. Okay. And then there's a squiggly line going down. And these are like kind of like S shapes. Okay. So that's the da, and you can see it's a door. Now we have the ha, which starts off the exact same way as this. So we're going to draw the da again. One across, one down. Except the difference is there's another line underneath it. Think of like another little S. smaller, but there's a space in between, and that's not connected. So you do the same thing as the da, create the da, then you're drawing another little S kind of squiggly. Now, when you see also this, what I'm doing, I'm mimicking this row here as best as I can with my handwriting, if you can bear it. So this is what I'm doing here on the sheet. So all this is review. You should be familiar with this already, but I'm just going to do it again just to help reiterate and get this in your head. Next, we have the wa. Think of like how we draw the gamal here. 1, 2. Do the same thing. 1 on a diagonal, 1 straight down. So that's the wa. Next, we got the za, which I like to describe it as squiggly up top and squiggly down below. Almost looks like a T in a way, but the squiggles and all these nuances, you know, once you see it and write it, it becomes clearer and clearer. The whole point of this and how I memorized this, I literally filled up like 3 notebooks of writing this over and over and over again. And that's how it's eventually stuck in. The very first time I was writing these, it was like very difficult. It really was hard to do this modern, because I mean, as you really look at that, these letters are very similar looking. Unlike our ancient, which everything's really distinct. It's almost like graffiti in a way. It's very easy to see. Next, we have the ka, which again, we're going to start with the dalaf here. So it's just 1 line across, then do the squiggly down. So you see it again, same like the dalaf, same like the hana, except this one, see how the hana has got the other squiggly, it wasn't connected. This one, we're going to do another one just like this side, and it's connected to the top. So the difference between the hana is an open space. This one here is connected. So that's for the ha. Next we have is the ta, which is a basket. This is drawn, think of a side of a basket. So if we had a basket and we're looking from the side view of the basket, you can see it looks like that. Next we have the ya. This is a very short character. You're going to see it a lot though. So this is the ya. Next we have the ka. And the first one we're going to see is just like the first part here. It's like the letter C. But then this is where they got a little complicated. They're like, well, if you see a ka at the end of the word, you're going to use a different character. So what it is, it's pretty much a straight line across, like another line down. But it's also, I'm going to exaggerate it right now, it's also longer than the regular size letters. So when you see the end words that you see they're really long, that's the secondary characters. And you're going to see there's 5 of them. So here's the first one. So that's for the ka. Next, we have the la. And it's kind of drawn like this, a little curvature. Really unique character. Then we have the ma, and there's 2 different versions of these. There's one when you use the word throughout. This is the rounded version, so it goes like up, down, over, then there's a gap. It's not closed. and then like a squiggly up there. So this rounded version with the gap open is the ma if it's used throughout the word, but if it appears at the end of a word, they use, it's a more squarish kind of version. So I would say it's drawn like up, down, down, up, then a diagonal. So there's a lip at the end, and it's a diagonal, and then it's closed. So this ma is opened here, this ma is closed, and this version appears at the end of a word, the last letter. Then the na has two versions. The na is kind of drawn like this wa first. So it's a diagonal and a line down, right? Similar to that. And then just another line going across. So that's the na. And then for the secondary version, it's not as wide as this. I think it's almost like half the size, but then it's long. So this appears at the end of a word. All right. So like when you're trying to read this, especially when you have really, really small text, like the Tanakh is very small. I mean, personally, what I do, I use my cell phone, like when I read at the Sabbath service, and I go to a website when I read. It's called the BibleHub.com. I'll show you what it looks like. And when I read, what I did is I blew up my phone 150% just so I can see the characters. Right? So when I'm reading out the Sabbath service, this is what I'm reading from. So I'm using my cell phone because the Tanakh is too small for my eyes. So I just set the browser mode to 150% with the letters, and then you can see these characters a lot easier. Now you'll notice all those dots and dashes around them. You could totally ignore that. That's the Yiddish man trying to make vowels and sounds out of that. Notice I'm not drawing any of these dots or dashes around it, so you can completely ignore all that. So just look at the main character when you actually pronounce it. Let's do time check here. 8 o'clock. Okay. Do this quickly here, and we get into the 12 tribes. All right, next we have the Sa, which is kind of like flat up top, and then it's almost like a circle. So it has a lip at the end for the Sa. Then you have the I, which I like to draw it as 1, 2, 3, and a squiggly. So you can see it's like almost like a Y in a way. I. Then you have the Pa, which almost looks like a G. So you do that and make a rounded one. And then if it appears at the end of the word, do the same thing first, and then go down, and it's longer. So that's at the end of the word. Then we have the Tazah. This is a little bit funny to kind of draw it. It's it says 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There's a lot of steps into that one. And then that's for the throughout the word, but if it appears at the end of the word, it would be like this. So again, it's longer than the typical letters, and this appears at the end of the word. Then we have the Kwa. Almost a little bit like this L up here that we did for the Lamad, but it's a curvature kind of deal, and then it's an open space right there. Then we have the Ra, which is like an R, backwards. Then we have a Sha, which still looks like a W. It's just a little bit more rounded, I would say. You know, squiggly, squiggly, squiggly. And then you have the Tha, which is drawn just like this Ra'ash verse. So 1, down, and then an extra piece that way. So I would take a photo screenshot of this right now. It's a good place to take a snapshot. I'm going to take one too. Okay. So that's the letters, how they're drawn. Any questions at all in the chat?
Select it by a na, select it. So the ka and the na is similar, sir.
So here's the ka, as you see here. The difference between that and the na at the end, it's almost the same length, right? I know they're not next to each other, but you can see the na is actually shorter, and then this ka is actually longer. So yeah, it's kind of hard to read. To read that, I'll try to show it on here to see on the sheet here. You can see the ka right there. You see how it's longer up top, and here's the na. You see how it's shorter. So it's the same length, but that subtle difference. Yeah, so when you're reading this, it's really hard sometimes to see these things, but it's that subtle. So yes, they do look very, very similar, those two. All right. So that's why I blow up my phone, 150%. You might want to go 200, 300%, make it really, really big, and then it'll be more obvious once you start seeing it. Okay. Now let's get into the 12 tribes. Time check. 8:08. 8:08. Let me clean this board so it's nice and clean. You can see it on the camera. Now we're going to get into the 12 tribes. And what I'm going to show you is a little trick how I've learned it. First, I learned the tribes by saying their names. But when you first hear anything, for me, it's a little difficult to visualize it just by hearing it. But later on, when it's drawn in the English, it helps you actually visualize and see it. And the way I'm going to show you how to do it, I do extra little tricks on it to help me see it even better. All right, so the first part, let's just put who the 12 tribes are. And we're going to stick to the English first, just because I don't want to confuse you with the Hebrew yet. But we will. And we'll go through the Hebrew. I'm going to try to do this a little bit quick. I have a little less than an hour. We have a meeting we have to attend to earlier, so to meet that deadline here. So, how I memorized the 12 tribes, I memorized them in sets of 3. So, first you have Judah, Benjamin, and these are the English. I'm just sticking to the English initially. Levi. So when I memorized these, I was like Judah, Benjamin, Levi, Judah, Benjamin, Levi, Judah, Benjamin, Levi. Just focus 3 at a time. Now I'm going to do the next 3. Simeon, Zebulun, Ephraim. So I memorized the next set. Simeon, Zebulun, Ephraim. Simeon, Zebulun, Ephraim. Simeon, Zebulun, Ephraim. Then I did the next 3. Manasseh, Gad, Reuben. So I memorized these next 3. Manasseh, Gad, Reuben. Manasseh, Gad, Reuben. Manasseh, Gad, Reuben. Then the next 3. Asher, Naphtali, Issachar. And I memorized Asher, Naphtali, Issachar. Asher, Naphtali, Issachar. What helped me memorize this sequence, I just remember the first letter initially. I was just doing JBL, 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 JBL. You might want to come up with acronyms of these. To me, JBLs are speakers. It's a brand of speakers. So that's how I remember that. Then Simeon, Zebulun, Ephraim. SCE, SCE. I'm like, size. It's just a word that I came up with to help remember. Then MGR. Manasseh, Gad, Reuben. Manasseh, Gad, Reuben. MGR. And then Asher, Naphtali, Issachar. And I remembered A and I. So as you see, I'm always breaking things down to a real simplistic way. So JBL, SDE, MGR, A and I. And then eventually I throw in the other letters. So this is just the English. Okay. Now, who are these people? Judah are the Negroes. Benjamin are the West Indians. Levi are the Haitians. Officer Yatazar in the house. Simeon are the Dominicans. We have Mapata in the house. Mapataza. Our Simeon brother here. We got Zebulun. This is an area actually from Guatemala to Panama. Now, me, I was really bad in the beginning. I'm like, where is Guatemala on the map? I actually looked it up. So I suggest you do that. If you haven't done that before, go to Google Maps, type Guatemala, type Panama, and just look at the actual locations on the Google map. So you actually know the region that it's covered. So you can see it's in like South America. Ephraim are the Puerto Ricans. That would be me, Sha'athwan. Manasseh are the Cubans. Gad are the native Indians. Reuben are the Seminole Indians. Asher, this is actually another region. This is Colombia to Uruguay. I had no idea where Uruguay was initially, and I just looked it up. And it's in South America as well. So go to Google Maps and type them in so you can see the location and you can see how big of an area this covers. So this is Colombia to Uruguay. All right, so these are two countries. Naphtali, Argentina to Chile. Also do this on Google Maps. Make sure you do this because it just brings everything to life once you physically see the regions, how big these territories are. Argentina to Chile. And then Issachar, the Mexicans. Okay, now, these names in Hebrew actually mean things. So I'm going to draw that on a separate board, but I'm going to stick to English part here. And then on the next board, I'm going to draw all the Hebrew. But just, you get the basic part in the English. So Judah is Yahweh, and it actually stands for praise Yahweh. All right, that's what Yahweh actually stands for. Then Benjamin, the West Indians, Banyanyan. That would be son of the right hand. Son, which is Ban, of the right, Yamyan, hand. Levi are the Haitians, which is Lo Ya, which is actually join my, or join unto me. And Simeon, the Dominicans, Shamaiwan. The Lord have heard, I was hated. That's what Shamaiwan is. Zebulun is Zabalawan. Now he will live with me. Now he will live with Ephraim are the Puerto Ricans. Aparayam, Haryim. And it means I am fruitful. And you know the Puerto Ricans are very fruitful. Manasseh, the Cubans, Manasseh means forget, toil, or slavery. Gad are the native Indians, which is Gad. That actually stands for troop or soldier. Reuben, the Seminole Indians, Ra Awa Ban. Look, it's a sun. Look, that's Ra'ah. Ra'ah is it. It's a sun. And Ban is sun. Ra'awa Ban. Look, it's a sun. Asher stands for happy.
NCCI.
We have Naphtali, which is Naphthalia. We wrestle my. And Issachar, the Mexicans, Yashshakar. He is my hire. If you want something done, you hire the Mexicans. He is my hire. They do the best work. It's in their name. He is my hire. Okay, so now this will be a good time to get a screenshot and take a picture of this here. I'm going to take one myself. All right. Any questions at all?
Carl, we do have a question.
Okay.
Sister asked, so what is that app you said you use to read the Bible, sir?
Okay. That will be the BibleHub.com. So go to your browser. It's not an app, it's a website. So if you can see on my iPhone, can you show the screen for a second, sir? Thank you. So if you see on the bottom of my thing here, I don't know if this focuses in, BibleHub.com, and that's just a website. So that's where I look at all these letters. And you want to go to the interlinear section. Okay, so that's how you see all the letters. So BibleHub.com. All right, so now let's get into the writing of the letters. Now you know what they mean. What I'm going to show you is how I memorized everything first in the English. Because if you try to immediately write these characters in the Hebrew, it might be a little difficult at first to see, especially if you want to write ancient and then you want to write the modern version. What I like to do is I like to always use the alphabet. Now, I already wrote the alphabet for you today, so I'm not going to do that now for time's sake. All right. But what I am going to do now is show you the English and how I write it. Okay. Time right now is 8:25. Okay. So, Judah, Yahawadah, Yah, Ha, Wa, Da. And I'm separating the letters so you can see them exactly how they are. When you go on your chart, okay, you already have on your chart, you already have the English down here. So once you see the English, all you have to do is go to the actual character you want to draw in the ancient or the modern. But you have the English down here. So I'm drawing it so it's really distinct that you can see it, the actual characters. So Yahweh Da. Now we did connectors last week, and how I'm actually going to show connectors in the English is just I'm going to put an underscore underneath it. So that means when we draw the ancient, we're going to essentially put that U symbol as it's connecting the letters. But this is the English part, and it's just meant to be a visual. It's a lot easier learning these things just by the English first. Okay, next, Bond for Benjamin, Bon, Yam, Yan. The Bon will be connected, the Yam will be connected, and the Yan will be connected. As far as the connectors, when we draw them later on. Next is the Lo Ya for Levi. And this one was a little confusing at first because I saw different variations of it, but the connector is important. It's not La Wa Ya, it's Lo Ya. So the connector is between the L-A and W when you actually draw this. So it's pronounced Lo Ya. Next we have Simeon, which is Sha, My, that's the M-A and the I together, and they would be connected with the connector, Sha, My, Wan. And the Wan would also be connected. Next we have Zebulon, which is Zabalawan. So we got the Za, then we have the Ba, then we have the La, and then we have the Wan. And the Wan would be connected. These letters would be connected. Next we have Ephraim, a Parian, but it's physically A, Ha, Ra, Yum. Those are the physical letters. And remember, these are just training wheels. When you actually pronounce it, it's a parium, but it's the letters A, Pa, Ra, Ya, and the Ma. You connect these two. Next, we have Manasseh, the Cubans, which is Manasseh. So that's the Ma, the Ma, then the Na, and then you have the Sha, with an H at the end. So these letters will be connected. Manasha. Then we have Gad, which is Gad, and that's connected to. The Ga and the D is connected. Then this one is a little tricky, Ruben, because of the connectors, but it's pronounced Ra, Awa. So that's actually the A and the Wa connected together. Ra, Awa, Ban. And the Ban is also connected. Then Asher, which is A and Shar. And the Shar is connected. Then we have Naphtali, which is Na, Pa, Thal, Ya. So that's Na, Pa, Thal, and that Thal is connected, Ya. Na, Pa, Thal, Ya. And Issachar, the Mexicans, is Yash. That's the Ya with the SH. Yash. Sha. And then the Kar. You have the Ka with an R. Yash, Sha, Kar. So now you have in English how to pronounce it. All right. Now we're going to write into Hebrew because now we already did the hard part in the English. Now we just have to translate it. All we do is again, go back to your sheet if you need to. Remember, you have all the English already down here, and now we're just going to substitute with the proper ancient or the modern version, and we'll do both. What time is it? 8:33. Okay. So let's write everything in. Let's start from the top one here. I'm going to do this fairly quickly now just so I can get this covered here. So we're going to write now Yahweh. Let's do it in the ancient. Ya, Ha, Wa, Da. Now let's do the connectors. Ya, Ha, Wa. You see this? Ya, Ha, Wa. The one that actually changed is the underlined version. Da. We're going to connect these two. Ya, Ha, Wa, Da. Next, we're going to do it in the ancient. Ya, Ha, Wa, Da. Yahweh Da in the modern. That's the modern version. Next, we have Benjamin. Ban, Yam, Yan. Ba, Na. So that's Ban. We connect it. Yam. That's the Ya. That's the M. Yam. Ban, Yam, Yan. Ban, yam, yan. Ban, yam, yan. Remember, the underscore here in the English is the connector that the letters are connected. So we have 3 of them there, 3 of them here. Next, we're going to write it in the modern. Ban, yam, yan. Now, remember the N? This is actually long. And remember, so we don't confuse it with the ka one, which is really wide. See, this one's actually a shorter width going across. So it's ban, yam, yan, and it's long because it's the N character. That changes this. Next, we have lo ya for Levi. So that's the L, the wa, and the ya. So law is connected. Those 2 are connected. And then the ya. Law, ya. Then we have la. Then there's the wa. And then there's the ya. Law, ya. Simeon. Shammai 1. We have the sha. We got the ma. You got the I. And then you have the one. The wa and the na. Now let's connect it. Sha, that's a single one. My is connected. My, one. These are connected. Sha, my, one. And in the modern, sha, ma, I, one. Again, just like you have the long one here, it appears at the end. That's the end. Shammai 1. Next we have Zabala 1. So we got the za, then the ba, then the la, then we have the one, which is the wa and the n. And now look at our connectors. Regular, regular, la, regular, one, connected. Just like Shammai, 1. Now we have Zabala, 1. So you're going to see the ones that start to appear. Just like my name, Sha'af 1. At the end is 1. It's these 2 letters connected. Okay, and now we're writing in the modern. So be za, ba, la, wa, one. Okay, za, ba, la, one. Now Ephraim, aparayam, aparayam. So that would be a, then the pa, then the ra, and then the yam. That's the ya and the m. Let's look at this. Aparayam. So the only ones that are connected is the yam, just like the yam's connected, and then these are the singular sounds. Pa, ra, yam. Aparayam. And that would be in the modern a, pa, ra, ya, and the m. This is the closed one because it appears at the end. So this is like the squarish one that's completely closed because it appears at the end. You use the end character. Aparya. Next we have Manasseh, Ma, Na, and Shah. So we draw the Ma, then we draw the Na, then we draw the Shah, and then we add an H at the end. Mana Shah. So the Shah is connected, and then these are singulars. Ma, Na, Shah. And modern, Ma, Na, Shah. Mana Shah. Now we have Gad, which are the native Indians. So that would be Ga, the Ga, and the Da. It's actually a little bit shorter. It's not as tall as the other ones when you draw the Ga symbol. Just so you know, it's a little bit shorter than the others. But this is God. This is connected. So this is connected. God. And that would be modern Ga, God. Now we have Reuben, Ra, Awa, Ban. It's a tricky one because this Awa is connected. So it's Ra, that's your head, the A, then you have the Wa, then you have the Ba, and then you have the Na. How it's connected? The Awa is connected. Awa, Ban, connected. And this is singular. Ra, Awa, Ban. And in the modern, Ra, A, Wa, Ban. Okay. You notice how this N is always at the end? It's this other character that we're using, for Awa, Ban. Next we have Ashar, which is A. And then you have the Sha. And then the R, which is the head. The Shar is connected. And this will be the singular part. Ashar. Ashar. Next we have Na, Pa, Thal, Ya. So we draw the Na. We draw the Pa. We draw the Tha. We draw the La. And we draw the Ya. What's connected? The Thal is connected. So this will be Na, Pa, Thal, Ya. That will be drawn in the modern. Na, Pa, Tha, La, Ya. Na, Pa, Thal, Ya. And then the last one is Issachar, Yash, Sha, and Kar. So let's draw the Ya, then the Sha. So that will be the Yash. Actually, that's not a straight line. Straight lines, this is just in the English, so I just did that for show. We do it as it's like a smiley face. Yash, Sha, that's singular, and then the Kar. And these are connected. Yash, Sha, Kar. In modern, Ya, Sha, Yash, Yash, Sha, Kar. Yash, Sha, Kar. So this will be a good point to take a screenshot and a picture of this as well. I'm going to do the same. All right. Are there any questions at all, sir?
No more questions. We got an Apostle Arm checking in from Georgia. Shalom.
All right. Well, with that, I'd like to say Yahweh Bahashem, Yahweh Shai Barak Atham to the brothers. Yahweh Shamar Al Athan Bahashem, Yahweh Shai to the sisters. And I leave it to, no, so I'm going to cut it right now. Thank you for showing up.